It was women discovering drag makeup and claiming it for themselves. Can I get a peachy nude? Do you guys have a peachy nude? Look at my little flower. It's in a shot glass. I just put some sugar in there and some warm water, and it has literally been beautiful for a week now, I believe. So cute. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do something that I have sort of been itching to do for a minute now, and that is Instagram makeup. Not too long ago, there was sort of the stigma about the way people on Instagram do their makeup and wear their makeup. It was very heavy, it was very glamorous, and most of the time it was edited, so it looked way better on Instagram than it did in person for some people. And since I managed to clean all of my eye brushes today, I figured why not just dip and dive into some Instagram makeup. The very first thing that I'm going to use, believe it or not, is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade. This is a brand new dark brown. That's the shade. I'm honestly at the point where I feel like some people will see this and have no idea what it is. But what you're supposed to do is scrape out some of the product and put it on the back of the container. A lot of people would say that this would get dry on them. I feel like the issue was people not closing their containers, like leaving them like this. You have to close them all the way. That way the product does not get dried up. And I want to say this is about 20 bucks. But the first time I bought one, and this is really bad because it's supposed to have a 6 months. That's the shelf life. It's also a vegan formula, by the way. First time I bought it, I had it for 3 years before I ran out. So I'm going to take the Anastasia Beverly Hills number 12 brush with the spoolie on the end. So satisfying. With this product, a little bit goes a really long way. Even that much is entirely too much for my eyebrows. But you can see why it would last so long, right? Now, if this turns out crazy, y'all, give me a thumbs up. Because it has been a minute since I've used the Dip Brow Pomade. And I used to be a loyal consumer. Clearly, taking 3 years to buy a new one. So what I like to do, or what I remember me liking to do, is holding my brush up and just making sure that it's not like straight on like this, but actually holding it like this. And that would prevent me from getting the pomade in areas where I didn't want it. And yeah, I think I should have did a higher arch. So I'm just gonna come around here and I'll clean up the arch with concealer. I forget that my eyebrows are shorter now, so I'm gonna clean that up and probably elongate it a little bit. And since I'm gonna elongate it, I'm just gonna extend this out, and yes, it's going to look a little thickums. And what I used to do, I would brush the product through towards the front of my brow, and the closer I get to the front of my brow, the lighter my hand would get, because I wanted that ombre. Do y'all remember that? The ombre, oh my goodness. And of course, I mean, it wouldn't really matter because you could clean it up with concealer later. These eyebrows, they are barely related, y'all. Barely. So moving on, we are going to carve out the eyebrow. I really don't know if anyone actually says that anymore. I don't feel like my eyebrows look like, at least not anymore, I don't feel like they look like blocks of something that you can carve. I'm just going to mix up my concealer. I'm finally almost out of the combination that I've been using, so I'll be able to move on to a different concealer. I'm so glad. Okay, so I used to use this brush for my brows. This is a Royal and Langnickel paintbrush. She is very old. And of course, I'm mixing my usual combination together. I've been having my ratios off lately because, like I said, I'm running out of the product, so. Just like that. Because I want that, I want that arch. I and we are making her skinny. Hello, skinny eyebrow. Now this one is, I don't think is gonna look the same, but back when Instagram makeup was an Instagram makeup thing, people would use concealers that are way lighter. Concealers that usually are meant to highlight the face as far as the shades are concerned. And I was never a fan of that because I felt like it made your eyebrows look like pop art. Does it make sense? But what we are going to do, because we're carving out the brows, I have to do the top with the bottom because that's the way it will be. Now, I do want to point out the fact that my eyebrows are nice and neat as is, okay? And part of the reason why people would carve out their eyebrows is because they would make mistakes that they wanted to fix. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's genius that, you know, there is a technique for fixing it. But see how the concealer literally just ruined my tail? Because I didn't need to do that. And it's a little hard to see. So whenever I would carve out my brows, I would get annoyed because I would think to myself, well, my shape was fine. And now I have to go back in and correct it with a brush. Like, you see that? Y'all see that? I know y'all see that. Which to me just makes for more work. And I'm definitely not that kind of girl. I am not a do more work kind of girl. The tail is still crooked. Right, that's as good as it's gonna get. And now to do the other side. Another reason why I wasn't a fan of carving out my eyebrows is because I felt like it made the top of my eyebrows look like a gap. So I would have space between my natural skin, the eyebrow product, and the concealer. Because I didn't want to get so close that the concealer is mixing with my eyebrows. That creates an ashy look. But I also was doing this technique. And it's kind of like either you get close enough or you don't. You know? Personally, I don't think it's necessary. Especially, like I said, if you practice and give yourself the opportunity to get better at doing it right the first time. Because I'm using a concealer that does not set itself, I can go ahead and blend all of this out. Pop quiz, what concealer was everybody using back during the Instagram makeup days? Name a high-end concealer and then name a drugstore concealer people were using, if you know. Let me know down in the comments. Another thing that was really fun about Instagram makeup was eyeshadow primer. Essentially, people would use their concealer, they would use P. Louise base, and then this came out, which is, this is what I use. But what was wild was the fact that the primers were pretty much white. Like, this one is more of an off-white, but the primers are pretty much white, and people were putting it all over their eye, like all around their eye. And it looked, I mean, we were used to it at the time, obviously, but looking back, it just, it was so unnecessary, so entirely unnecessary. So I'm going to tap this in. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow primer. I really like this eyeshadow primer because it sort of sets itself. It reminds me of the P. Louise eyeshadow base and the MAC paint pots. It's like if those two had a baby. And I don't know if y'all remember, but back when Norvina, Anastasia's daughter, used to be on Twitter, she was like, oh, you know, when there was the drama with P. Louise, because she said the N-word and then justified it. Norvina was like, so basically, is it time to make something new? Do we need to make something new? And I was like, yes, please make an eyeshadow primer and make the eyeshadow primer like her formula combined with the MAC paint pot, because we need something that is fluid, obviously, so we can squeeze it out and use it pretty easily. But we also need something that is going to stay on. Because the issue with P. Louise eyeshadow base is it creases. I don't care what anybody says. Y'all is not telling the truth. Like, I think you have to legit have dry eyelids or something, because the base itself is so wet. Like, it comes out just like the Anastasia one does. So it functioned like concealer as far as, you know, getting your eyeshadow on. But the problem is, just like with concealer, it creases. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't see the point in having an eyeshadow base that doesn't last. The first shade that I'm going to use today is actually 1988 from the Xrizz'Tina palette. I have hit pan, and I'm so sad. So I'm going to tap this on the outer corner of my eye, and I am packing it on, honey, because that is what we do. I'm placing it lower than where I plan to blend it out, so I don't wind up having this color all the way over there. And I'm just going to start with the shape that I want, because why not? And I want all of the definition, honey. So we're going to bring this up into the crease a bit there, add a little bit more. I'm going to wipe my brush off, and then I'm just going to tap out them edges, girl. So I'm tapping out the edges to soften them. That way when I put my transition shade on, everything comes together seamlessly. So the next shade that I'm going to use is Ginger from the Jackie Aina palette. Okay. And I'm actually, let me tap my brush off a little bit. I am going to tap below the fuzzy line that I just made to start. And then I'm going to go upwards to soften it some more. See how soft that is though? So I'm going to take edges and put edges exactly where I put Ginger, because if y'all don't remember too, orange colors in the crease, common, oh so common, because that warm transition, that is what everybody wanted. They wanted their eyeshadows to transition and be warm and be pretty. And us brown skin girls, we didn't have that yet, so we had to finesse. And now I'm just going to take Ginger and use it to blend out edges. And I'm blending in the direction I want my eyeshadow to go. Okay? But I will say back then, everybody was doing this. Windshield wiper motions. So I'm going to take 1988 again. And I'm tapping lower and moving upwards where I want it to be. And this brush is a little bit more dense, so I have to be light-handed if I want everything to blend together. I'm going to take this brush. This is the brush that I use with the primer, and I'm just going to sweep it right up and through there like that. I'm going to use my actual foundation powder. This is from MAC. It is NC43, and I'm going to pack it right on top. Now, I used to love doing this because foundation powders, bronzers, any sort of big pan product was literally a giant eyeshadow to me. And I'm glad I learned that and started to believe that, because it's true. Your makeup is good for whatever you want to use it for. And that just totally eliminated the whole white cast situation. Moving on, a big part of Instagram makeup was cut creases. So of course you want to take your eyeshadow primer, and at the time, like I said, people were using concealers and whatnot. Get a little bit of your eyeshadow primer, because you do not need a lot. But I will say that people was using a lot, and you want to cut your crease. So I would have to go towards this fold in my eye right here, like that. And then I would lower my eyelids or look down and connect the dots. And then once I get to the top here, I like to close my eyes. When you close your eyes, it's going to show you how it's actually going to look once you're all said and done. Take the eyeshadow primer and boop, boop, boop. And you would have to do this mostly because if you didn't, your eyeshadow would pop more exactly where you made the line and nowhere else. So I'm putting this right here, like that, and there we go. And I would tap mine on instead of wiping it, because the tapping would allow me to build basically a foundation for whatever eyeshadow I was going to put on top of this. For the lid, you had to have something shiny. Your eyeshadow had to be sparkling, which is why I'm going to use Zam from Jackie Aina's palette. And I'm going to take my pinky finger to do this because I need precision, honey. And we just go, do y'all see that? Girl. So I would get as close as I could to that line up there, right? Then I would wipe off my brush, same brush, and lay it flat and just go along that line. So then we're going to take this black eyeliner because you cannot have Instagram makeup without black eyeliner. You really can't. Like, you really, really can't. I mean, you can, but you really can't. And so I'm going to line this on the corner of my eye like that. And then with a super precise little brush, I'm going to smoke it out, darling. So I'm softening these edges and I'm going to blend upwards around the perimeter of that sparkly shade, but not quite on it yet. So I need to add the black eyeshadow, and that is going to be BK from Xrizz'Tina's palette. I'm using a 217 brush. Now my eyeshadow's on this side, but I don't want fallout, so I'm going to flip it over and tap it in like that. Right? And then you could also tap off your brush to get any extra fallout off, but yes, honey. And then of course we have to have some eyeliner. You cannot have an Instagram makeup look without some eyeliner, and it would be intense, like a stark line. Like that. Yes, honey. And then we got a little cute shape going on. So let me do the other eye and then we'll come back and do the face. Since I don't recall people really using primers, I'm just going to take this MAC sunscreen. This is the Face Protect Lotion SPF 50. Now, the Prep and Prime products from MAC are actually kind of like primers. They prepare your skin and prime it for makeup. So I always felt like this was a really good primer because of the way that it sort of melts into my skin, and it's not ashy. The contours, baby, they was live. Like, contouring was not a negotiation. Like, you was either snatched or you wasn't. The shade that I'm using, by the way, is 22, the Magic Touch Concealer from Anastasia. And I'm going to make this nice and sharp. Like that. And they would bring it like all the way down here. Now, I just want to know, who told the girls about contouring? Which one of y'all told the girls about contouring? Because when the girls... When the everyday makeup consumer found out about contouring, to this day, everybody and their mama says they want to learn how to contour because they feel like it's some sort of magical facelift. And I mean, if you know what you're doing, you really can change the way that your face looks. But at the same time, it's just makeup, you know? So now that we got that on, let's go ahead and get into this base. Oh, and I just realized we're going to be baking. I'm going to use 365C from Anastasia Beverly Hills. There was quite a bit of contrast between your base, your contour, your highlight. It was a lot of contrasting going on with Instagram makeup. And honestly, if you ask anybody else, they will tell you that it was drag. It was women discovering drag makeup and claiming it for themselves. And I'm not using the foundation to sharpen my contour. I'm actually going to use powder to do it because that's what I remember people doing. Moving on to concealer. Concealer was bright underneath the eyes. If you were not highlighting, you was not living, honey. And that's pretty much what it was. You put on a lot like this, and then you get some right up in here, because the girls had discovered nose contouring. And you highlighted, baby. I am going to attempt to blend it out and snatch myself here. And of course you would bring it all the way up in between your eyebrows like that. And I'm going to use this beauty blender, this beauty sponge. This is the DSMD Shop Dark Skin Makeup Daily Beauty Blender. It is flat on one side and then it's curvy, and it is huge, like huge. So I'm just gonna come up in here, and hopefully this concealer has not set in place, because this concealer likes to do that. And we are highlighting, girl. We are highlighting. Of course, we're gonna come along the side of the nose to further that contour situation. And bring it on down. And of course you have to bring it all the way up here, because that's what everybody was doing. Bring your concealer all the way up here. The crazy thing about the way that people would highlight with their concealer was there was no color correction. So for example, on camera my eyes look very bright, right? But in real life it's obvious that I still have some hyperpigmentation underneath. So of course they would layer and layer and layer their concealer, which I'm not going to do because it's not color corrected, so it's not going to make a difference. Have you ever used white concealer? Comment down below and let me know. Would you try it? I feel like it's fun. Like whenever I just want to do something a little bit different or just be a little bit more dramatic, I'll put white concealer right here in this area, and it just brightens it up a little bit. It is, you know, not natural, but it's not supposed to be. Makeup isn't natural. Got my Laura Mercier loose setting powder. Back then, people were using like Sacha Buttercup and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna go right in and bake. And I'm just gonna put it right up under here. And I have to bring it all the way out. Y'all have no idea how much this hurts my soul to do. To bring it all the way out like that. It hurts my soul. Baking does help your makeup stay on, but it's for being under hot lights. And so of course we're going to bake this contour, honey, because that is what the girlies was doing. Make your contour more snatched. Who was your favorite makeup artist back in the before times? when Instagram and YouTube started to pop off? Who did you used to watch and love? I would watch Miss Rosh Posh. Amra didn't have, like, she wasn't really making YouTube videos like that, but I watched her stuff. What else? Who else? Everybody that wore a lot of makeup, that's who I would watch. Because I was like, I love the cake, honey. And if I learn how to put on heavy makeup, it'll be nothing to figure out how to do lightweight makeup on my clients. And I was right. So while we're baking, because you can't just sit here and bake, you got to do something, right? While we're baking, I'm going to finish my eyes off. So I'm going to take this pencil, this black pencil, and bring it all the way in. And take my little detailing brush along with, let me see, Hugo from the Xrizz'Tina palette. And I'm going to tap Hugo right on top. Once I set that eyeliner, I'm going to start blending this out. And you'll want to look up, because obviously you want to fill in those fine lines and wrinkles. We have baked long enough. So I'm going to take the MAC NC47 foundation powder, because I don't have an actual bronzer, and sweep it. One thing I do remember is being very, very matte all the time, which my face cannot handle anymore. So now we're just gonna dust away this bake, and I'm using the same brush that I just bronzed with. And you kind of have to be a little rough when doing this because you're trying to dust away the powder that's not sticking to your face, but the truth is most of it stuck. So for my blush, I'm going to go into this Misho Beauty palette. These are the colors. I remember when Becca Cosmetics had the girlies in a chokehold. Becca Cosmetics and MAC had the girlies in a chokehold with their highlighters. So I'm going to use I'm going to use Oh Darling because this suits my complexion better than Gold Deposit does. Girl, okay, who were you if you were not wearing highlighter? Who were you? Nobody. You didn't even have an Instagram if you wasn't wearing highlighter. And you had to bring it up in here like that. Oh! We'd have to do some lip liner, lipstick, and lip gloss. Are y'all ready? Okay, so for lip liner, we're gonna do Chestnut. And I don't really know what I'm gonna put on with this yet, but so you put on your dark lip liner, and then you grab your lip liner that's supposed to essentially match whatever lipstick you're gonna be wearing. So I'm gonna take this Parchment. And as far as the nude lips were concerned, nude lipsticks were either really pasty or they were borderline orange. So I don't really have a super orange nude, but I do have Heart of Gold from K-Medics. And people would put on the liquid lipstick, girl, like you were putting on your liquid lipstick for dear life. What used to kill me about liquid lipstick specifically is everybody would use so much of it and then they would talk about how uncomfortable it was on their lips. But the truth is you're really supposed to use like little to none in order to apply it. Granted, it's not like the companies were advertising it that way, so you need a gloss, and your gloss has to match your lipstick or be close to it. Peachy nude gloss, y'all. Peachy nude gloss. Oh my goodness. Can I get a peachy nude? Do you guys have a peachy nude? And you could never have on enough lip gloss, like ever. Let me see. Of course, you have to have a setting spray. Now, I don't have the kind of setting sprays that we would wear back then. Everybody wore setting sprays for longevity, but I do have a mist. For the girlies that did not like wearing, the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray and the Benefit setting spray and all the other setting sprays, there were girlies who would mix rose water, make their own rose water, or buy it from like Mario Badescu. So that's what I got. I have a rose water and rosehip oil hydrating mist from Rose and Skincare. So that's what I'm going to use. But this is what you would look like, you know, matte. Just very harsh. Everything sort of sitting on top of itself. So let me just use this. And of course you got to cover your eyes. And then you would get your mirror or whatever you had and fan yourself until you were all nice and set. This eye got drenched, y'all. I guess I should pull my wig a little bit more front and center, right? But yep, so this is the final look. This is what I can remember of Instagram makeup. Heavy on the eyes, very dark, very sultry, except with a filter on your face to intensify everything. Super heavy highlighter. Pretty much it was doing the whole nine. There was no skipping steps. You did everything. You baked, You carved out your brows. Normally, you know, you'd have some big lashes on, but I'm not putting on big lashes because I'm about to wipe this off. And it was a look. Like, you was considered snatched, period. You had you a beauty blender. You had your little, like, you was doing the darn thing. So, and the nose contour. Y'all see it? It's way more harsh in person. Way more harsh, but I did have fun doing this, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video and reminiscing with me as well. If you enjoyed this video, please comment down below something funny. I would love to get a little giggle out of y'all, and don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends, and just double check to make sure you're subscribed, because, you know, why not, you know. And I will see y'all next time. Peace. Y'all see my little zit sitting on my face. See my little zit, rent it does not pay. Needs to go away is what it needs to do.